The Secret of the Garden Gate. Once upon a time, in a lush and vibrant forest, there lived a mischievous little rabbit named Peter. Peter was a curious and adventurous young bunny with a fluffy tail and bright, twinkling eyes. He lived with his mother and 3 sisters, Flopsy, Mopsy, and Cottontail, in a cozy burrow beneath a giant oak tree. Every day, Peter's mother would warn him and his sisters about the dangers of the forest, especially about the garden of Mr. McGregor, a grumpy old man who didn't like rabbits at all. "You must stay away from Mr. McGregor's garden," she would say. "Your father had an unfortunate encounter there, and we don't want that to happen again." But Peter, being a cheeky and curious rabbit, couldn't resist the temptation. He loved the thought of sneaking into the garden, where the juiciest vegetables grew in neat rows: carrots, lettuce, radishes, and more. So, one sunny morning, when his mother was out shopping and his sisters were busy gathering berries, Peter decided to go on an adventure. Peter hopped through the forest, his little heart pounding with excitement. He soon reached the edge of Mr. McGregor's garden. The gate was slightly open, and without a second thought, Peter squeezed through the gap. Once inside, Peter's eyes grew wide with wonder. There were rows upon rows of delicious vegetables, just waiting to be eaten. He nibbled on some lettuce, took a bite of a radish, and munched on a crisp carrot. It was a feast fit for a king. But Peter's joy was short-lived. Suddenly, he heard the booming voice of Mr. McGregor. "Stop! Thief!" the old man shouted, as he spotted Peter munching on his prized vegetables. Peter's heart skipped a beat, and he bolted across the garden, trying to escape. Mr. McGregor chased after him with a rake in hand, but Peter was quick and nimble. He darted under bushes, leaped over flower beds, and scurried through the rows of cabbages. But in his haste, Peter lost one of his little shoes, and then the other. He ran faster and faster, but soon he found himself trapped in a net. Just when Peter thought all was lost, he remembered his mother's advice: if you ever find yourself in trouble, don't panic. Stay calm and think of a way out. Peter took a deep breath and started to wriggle his way out of the net. It wasn't easy, but he managed to free himself just as Mr. McGregor came closer. Peter sprinted towards the gate, with Mr. McGregor hot on his heels. With one last burst of energy, Peter squeezed through the gap and dashed into the forest, leaving Mr. McGregor shaking his fist in frustration. Breathless and exhausted, Peter finally made it back to his burrow. His mother and sisters were waiting for him, worried sick. "Oh, Peter, where have you been?" his mother cried. Peter, feeling ashamed, told her everything about his adventure in Mr. McGregor's garden. His mother gave him a stern look but was also relieved that he was safe. "Peter, you must learn to listen and be careful. Not all adventures are worth the risk," she said gently. Peter nodded, realizing that he had been foolish to ignore his mother's warning. From that day on, Peter was more cautious. He still loved to explore the forest, but he made sure to stay away from Mr. McGregor's garden. And whenever he felt the urge to be mischievous, he remembered the close call he had and how lucky he was to have escaped. And so, Peter Rabbit continued to have many more adventures, but he never forgot the lessons he learned on that fateful day in the garden. And though he still had a playful streak, he was always a little wiser and a lot more careful.